This is for Olga. This is how you lay out your project and add water to it. I'm doing it in a small scale, but you can do it, very large scale. You lay out your fiber. This is 4 layers of merino wool. I have cold water and detergent. I'm just putting, can you see this? I'm just putting a couple drops of the detergent in the cold water because you don't need a lot of soap when you're starting out. If you have another kind of wool that needs more soap, then you can, use more soap. Now I just spray the cold water onto the wool, and this takes a little practice because you don't want to use too much, but you don't want too little. So I'm spraying. The more wool you have, the more water and with soap. The other choice is you could put down a piece of nylon netting and then you could spray the water over that if you want to keep your design in place so that the water doesn't move it. The next step is I'm taking a piece of thin plastic. It's 1 mil or less. I'm putting that over the wool and I'm just rolling from the inside out to spread the water a little bit. Here and there I'll see little puddles of water. Okay, next I'm going to roll it up. And I want to keep the roll even, and I'm going to place it on the rolling machine. Okay, we have the timer, which turns on the power to the motor, and we have the speed control. That's the speed. I'm turning the speed control down, turning up the timer, and I'm just turning on the speed so it'll go for about 1 or 2 minutes and start the water dispersing over the project. Okay, I took the roll off the machine, and I can see, if you see a close-up, where it's darker, there the water dispersed a little. Where it's lighter, that's dry. So I'm taking off the plastic. I'm going to add water, more water to the dry areas. And this is a way to gradually add the water to your project so you don't get too much water, because too much water makes the felting slow. Okay, now I'm going to place it back on the machine. This is a lightweight project because it's so tiny. If it was a bigger project, it would have more weight, and then it would disperse the water more. So I'm going to put a little pressure from the top. But I want to just note that every time you take your project off the machine, you roll it up in the opposite direction. Did you get that? So each time, it rolls opposite. Now I'm turning the top handle counterclockwise to lower the top roller. Just going to start the project roll. Once the top roller starts turning, you can see this screw turning. That means that's the 0 point. So you want to start with 1 full turn after that of the handle. That's 1 turn there. I'm going to put it on high speed and let it go for like 5 minutes. Okay, this has been rolling for 5 minutes. I'm bringing the top roller up, and let's look at what happened. Okay, the plastic is on the top, and the reason I put the plastic is when the wool is soft, it's not felt, the bubbles in the bubble wrap can make indents in it. So let's take the top off. Most of it is wet, but there are dry spots. After 5 minutes, it's already started felting. But obviously, in these spots that are a little dry, it's not going to felt. I'm just going to add water there. I'm going to add some more water because it takes a while for the fibers to absorb the water. And then I'm going to put it on, rolled from the opposite direction again, but I don't need the plastic this time. So you already have a felt that has started to form. So I could use olive oil soap now, which is this bar soap. I can put some hot water in this and then pour some over. So that's a choice you can do. But now it needs more time on the machine. We had it on for 5 minutes. Now I would put it on for like 10 minutes. The same thing, I'm starting the machine, lowering the top roller till I get to the 0 point. Now it's turning. This time, last time I did 1 full turn. This time I'm going to do 2 full turns. And top speed. And I'll set the timer for 10 minutes. Okay, this is the piece that was 4 layers of merino wool. It's been on the machine for 10 minutes. See how you may get areas that are dry from the rolling, and the pressure. So you need to check it at, like I said, after 10 to 15 or 15 to 20 minutes. It's felt, but now I want it to be felted more and full. So I'm going to take olive oil soap, and I'll take a bar and just place it into a bowl. This is hot water. Just going to pour some hot water over it, and that melts the soap. And if you just let it sit for a while, you'll get a soapy solution. So now I want to use hot water and soap on the 4 layers of merino. The soap helps felting. So either you can put it in a spray bottle, or you can just kind of splash it on. You don't need too much. Okay, now I'm rolling again from the opposite direction. If you can lift your project, if it's a small project, and just flip it over. I'll roll from the opposite direction, and this has turned to felt, but it needs to shrink and be full. Now you can full on the machine, and there's different ways to full. If you want to full on the machine, it takes a little longer. Some people will just pick it up and throw it. I put it in my dryer and let it for like a minute at a time, and have it wet and soapy. So to full this on the machine, it went on the machine for 5 minutes, then the 10 minutes. Now for fulling, you would put it on the machine for 15 minutes, one direction, 15 in the other direction, flip it over, and 15 and 15. So I'm just rolling it up, and each time you change it, you would roll it up from the opposite direction. This one's coming out, and this one will go in. Now I go at high speed and more pressure. Okay, now I'm at 0 point. Now I will use 4 to 5 turns of pressure. For fulling, you use 4 to 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll set it for 15 minutes. All right, now we're fulling the piece of just 4 layers of merino. It has been in for 15 minutes going in one direction. Now it already has started shrinking, but you want to keep adding water to it. I'm going to move the foam over. I'm going to add a little more of the soapy water. Don't have to add a whole lot. And then I'm going to roll it up now from the opposite direction and go another 10 to 15 minutes on the machine at high speed and at 4 full turns. Oh, your cover's on, huh?
Okay.
Okay, here it's just finishing the 10 minutes, the second direction. This is the merino, 4 layers. And I had 4 full turns of pressure. And we are fulling this piece. So let's see how much it shrank. See, it really shrank. It was almost to the end before. So it's gone one direction, 10 minutes, the opposite direction, 10 minutes, at 4 turns. What I can do is I can do the same thing on this side. I would add, I can go a little bit less time because it already is quite strong fabric. See, I'm pulling, and it is a strong felt. Maybe it doesn't need more shrinkage. For me, I would maybe just toss it or put it in my dryer, wet and soapy. It won't take much more to have a strong felt. But if you want to put it in the machine, then you would flip it over. Add more of the soapy water because you want it to be slippery so that it can move and shrink. And then roll it up. Place it on the machine with 4 full turns, one direction, and then take it off, and then from the other direction, and then you will have a full piece of the merino felt. Okay, this is a silk chiffon scarf, and I have merino wool in 1 thin layer on top. So again, I'm just going to sprinkle the detergent with cold water on top of the wool. You don't want too little water because if it's too little, it'll stick to your plastic that I'll show we're going to put on, just like the other one. Okay, now I'm putting plastic over. I have plastic under it. I'm going to put the thin plastic over. And just pat it down so it stays even. It's a little long, so I'm going to fold it over. Again, I'm just going to roll over that plastic with this foam to make like a vacuum between the top and bottom plastic. Next, I roll up. I don't have to roll it super tight. I just gently roll it so it's even. And this is going on the machine. With this, I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the other project. I'm going to put it on the machine and gradually add water. This is the silk scarf with the 1 layer of thin merino. I'm just going to put this on the machine so that it can, so the water can be dispersed. It has the scarf, the merino, and a piece of plastic over it. So I brought the top roller down so I can actually go on a higher speed, and the top roller holds the roll in there even though it's not the top roller is not turning. So I'm just going to let that go for about 1 or 2 minutes and then check that everything is wet because I don't want to leave it in if some of the fiber isn't wet. Okay, this is the scarf with a thin layer of merino, and if you look close you can see spots that are white. Those are spots that are dry. Again, if it's dry, you're not going to get felt, so I'm going to carefully lift the top plastic And you have to be careful, if dry spots will stick to the top plastic. So I'm carefully lifting that. If anything sticks, I can put it back down. I'm removing that, and then where there are dry spots, just sprinkling the detergent with the cold water on it. Especially here I had a little heavier layer so it didn't wear down. Okay, I'm putting this back on. The plastic goes right back on to the top because the plastic holds that fiber right down close to the chiffon, to the fabric. And this is what you would do with any kind of like Nuno felt. Try to make the plastic even. You can use the roll to even it out. Okay, now I'm going to roll it up from the opposite direction. Each time you unroll and roll, you're always rolling from the opposite direction. Okay, now, the first time I put the roller on the machine, it was to really disperse the water. Now I'm going to start the felting. Come over to the machine. I'm going to start and figure out where the 0 point is. So I'm lowering the top roller counterclockwise, turning, looking for that screw to start turning. Okay, it's turning. So I think I can either do 1 or 2 or 3. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and I'm going to do high speed and for like 5 minutes. If you have your project on the machine for longer than like 15 or 20 minutes, it's going to start drying out. So you need to check it every 15 to 20 minutes to add more water with soap, or just water if there's too much soap in it. Alright, this is the silk chiffon scarf and the 1 layer of merino wool. It has been on the machine for 10 minutes now, so I'm going to turn it off. It has been with 2 to 3 turns of pressure. Let's go and see what it looks like. Everything looks nice and wet. Couple little tiny dry spots here and here. And if you have too much pressure, from the top roller, you can push the water out and you'll end up with some dry spots. So you always need to check to make sure everything is wet. Okay, I'm going to check if the fibers have started coming through the fabric. Yes, they have started coming through. So now I can use the olive oil soap to continue the felting. Again, that's this high pH soap. We add some hot water so that it can melt a little. I'm going to pour it in with the other soap I have. And then I'm just going to splash some on here. So this was on the machine about a total of 10 to 12 minutes. And the fibers are coming through, but they're not folded or felted into the fabric, so we want to keep the plastic on top to make sure the fibers stay close to the fabric. Okay, this time I'm going to roll it up from the opposite direction again. So I bring the roll over to this end. And it doesn't have to be super tight. Just roll it so you keep the edge here even. And the machine will tighten the roll. Now I'm going to put it back onto the machine for about 5 to 8 minutes. I'm going to start, so I see lower the top roller till it starts turning. See, now it's turning. So now I'm going to use 3 full turns of pressure. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to turn it up to high, and I'm going to put it on for 8 minutes. All right, the silk chiffon scarf with 1 thin layer of merino wool has been on the machine for 10 minutes. And this is after we added the soap because the fibers were going through the fabric. I'm going to take off the top layer and check. Okay, I still want to do some more felting on it. I'm going to add some more of the soapy water, and then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to start fulling it. So I'm going to full it the same way that we fulled the 4 layers of merino wool, where it'll go from one direction for 10 minutes to 15 minutes, the opposite direction for 10 to 15 minutes, and then flip it over and do the same. And you make sure you use the olive oil soap. I'm going to start it though in the flipped over. And I just want to make sure that there's plenty of water on it. Plenty of soapy water so the fibers can move through the fabric. Okay, now I'm rolling it up from the opposite direction. And I'll place it on the machine for 10 minutes with 4 full turns of the top roller for fulling. After that, I'll take it off, unroll it, add some more water, roll it up from the opposite direction, 10 minutes with 4 full turns again. Then I'll flip it over and do 10 minutes one direction, 10 minutes the opposite direction. And by then, the project will be fulled. So we'll look at that after the 4 10-minute fulling sessions.
Okay.
Here is the chiffon scarf with merino wool. It's been on the machine 4 times for fulling. The last 2 times, after I turned it over, I took the plastic off because then the fibers are strong enough that the bubbles do full it better than having the plastic on. So I'm gonna. It's already full, but just by adding a little bit of soap, you can do a little bit extra work on it. That's the kind of technique that the machine doesn't do. Stretch it out. You don't want too much water in it, but just by working it a little bit by hand and using the concentrated soap solution, or just putting soap on your hands, you can finish fulling it. When you're fulling, you want to do a little bit of stretching and then to make the fiber stronger and the felt stronger into the fabric. So the machine does most of the work, and you can either keep it going on the machine, but it's much quicker if you just do a little bit of hand work on it. And really it takes less than, a few minutes. Okay, here you can see the ruching on the back. You're getting some ruffling on the sides. So while you're working, just check it. You don't want to felt it, have places that felt to itself, but pretty much it's finished. The last thing you do is rinse it out, and just by rinsing it, you're going to get felting. See, at the ends, you're getting a lot of felting because that's, and then the center you can work it a little bit more. Okay, let's go over to the 4-layer merino wool. This piece has been through the machine and through the fulling, and just a little bit of work on it, like I said, less than a few minutes, where you can actually, stretch it out and then just, squeeze it a little bit or drop it, and you're getting a lot of the pebbling effect and shrinkage. See the pebbling here? So this piece is finished. It just needs to be rinsed and the water spun out of it. Now the times that we used for these two projects, we were using extra fine merino. If you're using a coarser wool or another type of wool that doesn't felt as fast, then you're going to be using a more longer times on the machine. And I hope this has helped explain how to use the rolling machine.